Moonlight doesn't appear to be coming from the sun because sometimes it points at the sun as its face rotates in a clockwise direction, but other times, the light is obviously coming from an entirely different direction than the sun.
In art, I've come to expect the light side of an object to face the light source, and the shadowy side of an object to face away from the light source. If the shadowy side was facing the light source, that wouldn't make any sense. Santosh, do you agree that if the moon is reflecting the sun's light, crescent moons should always point toward the sun?
From a perspective of a viewer on Earth, not necessarily.
I don't see how something like this could ever be possible if the moon was reflecting the light from the sun. Now let's move it. That does not look right to me.
Hey guys, Rob Skiba here. It's about 5 minutes to 5 p.m., January 18th. I am shooting a video of my shadow as it is being cast by the sun setting behind me. Now, today's one of those days where the moon is up at the same time as the sun. I want to point something out to you. There's the moon, and we're told that the moon reflects the light of the sun. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to angle my iPhone here to the direction of the shadow. Okay, so the shadow is perpendicular to the angle that my phone is right now. See, it's about a half moon, and so you would think if the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, then the source of the light that would cast that type of shadow should be directly across from it, somewhere up here, in this direction, right? Directly parallel to the light source. Should be right across from it, right? But it's not. The sun's way down here. So how is the sun way down here getting that angle of a shadow on the moon? Why isn't it doing the same thing to the moon that it's doing to me? Casting an appropriate shadow from the appropriate angle.
Staring at the world through my rearview. Just looking back at the world from another level, you know what I mean? Staring.
Like glitters raining on me. You're like a shot of pure gold. I think I'm about to explode.
Single bars and good time lovers were never true.
And you're fooling yourself, you don't believe it. For those who think I feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage. Into the sunlight, make them stream the best I've ever known. Lady dancing in the moonlight, take me down like I'm a domino.
By counterfeit interpretations and built on a mountain of faulty foundation.
Lady dancing in the moonlight, take me down like I'm a domino. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Outlandish assumptions and biased conclusions, immersed in a world full of lies and delusions. What would you do if you pulled back the curtain and saw who's controlling the scenes? Are you certain your version of truth is not an illusion of hip-hop propaganda confusion?
To the end, my friend, I'm seeing nothing but my dreams coming true. While I'm staring at the world through my rear view. See, I'm seeing nothing but my dreams coming true. While I'm staring at the world through my rear view. They got me staring at the world through my rear view. Go and let me scream to God, he can't hear you. I can feel your heart beating fast, guess it's time to die. Getting high, watch the time fly.
In this unlikely road, liquid blue eye. Yeah. And how can there be such a sinister plan?
And telling those sweet lies and losing again.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing.
Kidding yourself, you don't believe it.
With insufficient time, got me losing my mind. My heart beats out of time.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Into the sunlight, it's them to start skin tight. Baby, come on. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Examine and study the entire picture and every ingredient inside the mixture. Then ask yourself, which of the sides are you choosing? Have you bought into lies or the things you're assuming? What type of role in the game are you playing? And can you explain anything that you're claiming?
Dancing in the moonlight, take me down like I'm a domino. I have no heart to lie.
You keep playing where you shouldn't be playing.
In conclusion, there's numerous thoughts and opinions. Some are confusing and some seem convincing. Our mission should be one that seeks revelation, investigate, innovate, lead exploration.
There's an old saying I'm fond of: truth doesn't fear investigation. I invite all curveballers to double check me. Don't take my word for it. Go out there and reproduce this information yourself. The nassholes of this world tell us that this right here, this photo, is the 100% full moon. October 17, 2024, from my location here in Denver. And the one on the left, that looks the same, does it not? Full 100%? Which limb is dimmed a half a degree? Come on, folks. Use your own common sense and wisdom. Several times throughout the years, you will see multiple days of a full moon. That defies your model. Just want to reiterate a little truth here for you to put to bed the idea that maybe the animators over here at NASA wouldn't be really lying to you. Let's put it this way, folks. These people get like $60 million or more a month. They don't need to resort to cartoons if they really employ the best and the brightest, and this is all real and above board true. They don't need cartoons. They would merely use the best engineering software, where then they partially claim they make all these predictions with software. Why don't they render us a 3D model, full scale, showing how these magical three-ball space Monty system with the Earth, Moon, and Sun actually produce what they try to show us here in cartoon format? Very simple. Here in the United States, we could do a FOIA request, and they would have to produce their legitimate full-scale drawing model from AutoCAD or another engineering software to prove this thing really worked as they claim. Since it doesn't work and it's a lie, which we're proving here, they put it in a cartoon format so they don't have to release anything. The longest lunar eclipse this century, June 2018, when the moon was at its apogee or its furthest point from Earth, was 6 hours. They're showing a full moon that occurred 6 hours. Okay, they're locked into that. They can't go any longer than that because this is up with the sun during the day. So it can't be full according to their model or it's blown. So this was on October 16th at 6:06. So you're about almost 26 hours apart. And you've got a full moon. We've already established that you can't have a full moon more than 6 hours because that's the longest period of time this century of a lunar eclipse. A total lunar eclipse will last is 6 hours. So NASA are boxed into their lies when they show you their cartoon. Truth is always congruent. Only lies are riddled with contradictions. Only by critically probing the details of this 3-card Monty fairy tale, aka Earth, Moon, Sun, Spaceball story, can we spot the contradictions that prove it is a lie? I don't wish to belabor this point, but since there are an enormous amount of non-critical thinking, smart, intellectual defenders of this fairy tale, which point to the seemingly congruent nature of the mathematics, aka mythematics, used to bolster the Spaceball lie, it is incumbent upon us to use those seemingly brilliant details will show the lie for what it is. Rewind the video and absorb the details I showed earlier. On October 2nd, 2024, we had an annular eclipse, which our fairy tale model brilliantly explains away the observed Ring of Fire eclipse as a result of the Spaceball moon being at apogee, which is depicted here in this NASA cartoon. The contradiction which exposes their model as a lie is seen in the cartoon on October 17th, 2024, during this rather long full moon cycle. They can't claim the moon is at apogee here because of the annular eclipse 2 weeks earlier. So they count on us not being too analytical in looking at this rather non-issue of a multiple day full moon cycle. They claim it lasted for 6 hours. Since they know it will be a long full moon, they have to give it extra time. This observation allows us to expose their mathematical lie via the details of the brilliant mathematics used to explain the observation of the moon turning red during a total lunar eclipse. The details of the July 2018 lunar eclipse lasting 6 hours from beginning to end is explained away by claiming the moon passed through the center of the Earth's umbra while at apogee. Those are the brilliant details of the fairy tale they used to explain it. Those seemingly brilliant details they supplied, coupled with repeatable observations of the full moon for more than 24 hours, along with NASA claiming the moon was full for 6 hours in an attempt to explain away the lengthy full moon observations, exposes their model for the fairy tale that it is. Because the moon had to be at perigee on October 17th to conform to the details of their story, full moon occurred while at perigee. The moon could not have lasted 6 hours, let alone over 24, as we've got observational data to back up. This exposes the fraud. Therefore, the Spaceball Monty system is exposed for the lie it is via the crafty details of their lie, which expose it for the fairy tale that it is. It is my sincere hope that I inspire those few that see this to go out with their phone or high-end telescope or cameras and document the solar and lunar eclipses along with the long full moons that repeat throughout the year. Through many repeatable observations, we will be able to wake up more people. The solar eclipse of 763 BC is the first in what the Bible claims by Jesus is the sign of Jonah. The Soros cycles, named after the ancient Chaldean wise men, were first developed more than 20 years after solar eclipse attributed to Jonah in 763 BC. The paths of future solar eclipse, like the one in 2079, will travel east to west, which also belie the model. Also note, in recent time, we've went from 39 to like 41 active Soros cycles. So the sign of Jonah is on the increase. This information is not unlike what I'll show you later from the professor at Cornell University, wherein he explains Newton's gravity theory was proven wrong via repeatable experiments, by which they discovered the error in the motion of Mercury. Its orbit was wrong or off, as what it should have been for gravitation theory to be correct.
You ain't know what we mean by staying with the rear view. So since you ain't know what we mean, let me bring a better understanding. The world's behind us. And what the levels and the rules of the game is, then the world ain't no trick no more. The world is a game to be played.
Yeah, I was in the dark, I was falling hard, with an open heart, I'm wide awake. How did I read the stars so well? I'm wide awake, and now it's clear to me that everything you see ain't always what it seems. I'm wide awake, yeah, I was dreaming for so long.
I took video on the 15th, and I want you to tell me which one of these craters or which limb is darkened in my video, because you just won't see it. No scale that you could ascertain any information about. They want to keep it vague. Again, they're showing you it's at perigee, so there's no way it could last 6 hours. The longest one was at apogee in 2018 on the lunar eclipse that lasted the longest, and it only lasted 6 hours 14 minutes. So there's no way it could be full for more than a day, let alone 6 hours. October 15th, 2024, the sun set at 8:19 in Denver. The moon rose 1726, October 15th. So there's should be at least this much dimming on this limb of the moon, if your cartoon mimics reality. It's going behind a cloud. Maybe a little bit down here. But where is it? You see 4 degrees like they showed in their cartoon? Remember, this is on October the 15th. And right there, maybe a little bit of dimming, but nothing like what they tell you is missing. Can be found. Do it yourself, folks. Don't take my word for it. We're being lied to, and you can prove it.
Okay, now it's about 5:45 p.m. or so, about an hour later from the last video that I shot. See the moon going, see the sun going down in the west over there. And go this way and up, and there's the moon with the shadow angled this way. So you would think that if the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, that the sun should be shining this way. Problem is, the sun is now way down here. Look at the terminator line of the shadow. You would think the light should be coming directly across from it, but it's not. It's way down there. The angle is totally wrong for that shadow.
Could the moon actually be exactly as the scriptures say it is? Genesis 1:16. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Isaiah 13:10. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Ezekiel 32:7. And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven, and make the stars thereof dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light.
I like establishing goalposts. If the moon is reflected sunlight, what should we expect? When observations don't meet our expectations, is it enough to disprove the claim that moonlight is reflected sunlight? What is required to disprove that claim?
Spheres are well known to be very poor reflectors of light, yet the full moon is fully lit from edge to edge.
How we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then we well, don't laugh, that's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess to see what, if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to nature, or we say compare to experiment or experience. Compare it directly with observation to see if it works. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. In that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is, it doesn't make a difference how smart you are who made the guess, or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. That's all there is to it. It's therefore not unscientific to take a guess, although many people who are not in science think it is. For instance, I had a conversation about flying saucers some years ago with laymen. Because I'm scientific, I know all about flying saucers. So I said, I don't think there are flying saucers. So my antagonist said, is it impossible that there are flying saucers? Can you prove that it's impossible? I said, no, I can't prove it's impossible. It's just very unlikely. That, they say, you are very unscientific. If you can't prove it impossible, then how can you say it's likely, that it's unlikely? Well, that's the way, that is scientific. It is scientific only to say what's more likely and less likely, and not to be proving all the time possible and impossible. To define what I mean, I finally said to him, listen, I mean that from my knowledge of the world that I see around me, I think that it is much more likely that the reports of flying saucers are the result of the known irrational characteristics of terrestrial intelligence rather than the unknown rational efforts of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now you see, of course, that with this method we can disprove any definite theory. If you have a definite theory or a real guess from which you can really compute consequences which could be compared to experiment, then in principle we can get rid of any theory. We can always prove any definite theory wrong. Notice, however, we never prove it right. Suppose that you invent a good guess, calculate the consequences, and discover that every consequence that you calculate agrees with experiment. The theory is then right? No, it is simply not proved wrong. Because in the future, there could be a wider range of experiments, you could compute a wider range of consequences, and you may discover then that the thing is wrong. That's why laws like Newton's laws for the motion of planets last such a long time. He guessed the law of gravitation, calculated all the kinds of consequences for the solar system and so on, compared them to experiment, and it took several hundred years before the slight error of the motion of Mercury was developed. During all that time, the theory had been failed to be proved wrong and could be taken to be temporarily right, but it can never be proved right because tomorrow's experiment may succeed in proving what you thought was right wrong. I must also point out to you that you cannot prove a vague theory wrong. If the guess that you make is poorly expressed and rather vague, and the method that you use for figuring out the consequences is rather a little vague, you're not sure, I mean, you say, I think everything's because it's all due to Muggles, and Muggles do this and that more or less, so I can sort of explain how this works, then you see that that theory is good because it can't be proved wrong.
So, here's what you do. You take the energy contained in what we call dark energy, and it's 70% of all that drives the universe. Include with that percentage the dark matter, and we are driven to the humble, mind-blowing conclusion that 96% of all that is the universe is not anything we even remotely understand. 96%. And that all of our laws of physics, everything we know, love, interact with, and understand, or even can predict anything about the future, that falls into the 4% that remains.
Around the year 2000, various government agencies like NASA, CIA, released information about the firmament and about the earth being flat. News media began broadcasting the reality of the flat earth. It didn't occur until around the year 2014, 2015. This movie here, just as with The Simpsons predicting 9/11 years before 9/11, truthers, it's common knowledge they use what's called predictive programming. This movie, Just Friends, from 2005, with Ryan Reynolds telling you, picking up here in the cold winter scene where she says, yeah, it was a surprise. Now, here's the flat earth truth, where the real surprise is.
Big surprise, yeah. It's cold out here.
Yeah, it is. It's like the South Pole.
It's like the deep South Pole, if there was one. There isn't, though.
Yes, there isn't a South Pole, though, because the Earth is flat. Just like there isn't a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, because it doesn't exist. 5:50 p.m. October 16th, 2024. I am filming the full moon rise before sunset. You can barely make out the Front Range there. There's some cloud coverage, as you can see, but the sun will not set until 6:20, so I should have a good 20 minutes sunlight prior to the sun setting. Well, it's going behind the clouds. It will still be above the horizon, which blows the model out of the water. The sun has not set yet. We have the Front Range Mountains here. The sun is up here behind the clouds. You can see the mountain range right there. Up in there, behind these enormous clouds, is the sun. Go back here. Zoom back in on the 100% full moon, because according to all the knowledge on the internet, that is not full. But really, show me that 0.5% that's dimmed, folks. You can't do it. It's a belief system that you want to subscribe to. That's all it is.
gets a little bit higher, we'll be able to get out of the haze or smog, if you will. Take my solar filter off. Okay, October 17th, 2024. What do we got there? The full moon, 99.5% yesterday, but now she's 100%. Really? I'm sure we can see where that 0.5% is now illuminated.
And then comes out and says he doesn't want to talk about what gave him a heart attack or what killed him on the field. And then months later, after checks clear,
and a nice weekend at Buffalo's,
and book deals are signed. Then the dude comes out and says, "Oh, it's because I got hit in the chest." Well, this dude didn't get hit in the chest. And I don't buy the Damar Hamlin thing anyway. Fuck you, you fucking criminal.
The incident came just 2 days before Damar Hamlin returned to the field for the Buffalo Bills, less than 6 months after he collapsed in cardiac arrest during a Monday night football game. The high-profile cases have led to an increased focus on the heart health of young athletes seemingly in peak physical condition, and a call for widespread screening.
Damar Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills safety who suffered cardiac arrest mid-game last year, sending Bronny his well wishes, tweeting prayers to Bronny and the James family as well. Here for you guys, just like you have been for me my entire process.
For example, with Damar Hamlin, it was related to something known as cordis commotio, which is a blow to the chest wall.
every network is playing along because every network is bidding for Hamlin's first, second, and third interviews. Will he sit down with Oprah Winfrey? Or will Michael Strahan land Hamlin on Good Morning America?
The question on so many minds, what caused his heart to stop beating?
How did doctor describe what happened to you? What happened
That's something I want to stay away from.
No problem. We didn't want to know anyways.
Did anybody ever come back with any, say you had a heart issue or anything that was abnormal?
Honestly, no. I've always been a healthy, young, fit, energetic, human being. It was something that was just, that we still processing, and I'm still talking through with my doctors just to see what everything was.
We, of course, all saw Damar Hamlin go into cardiac arrest on the field earlier this year, and so this has been a little bit more prevalent in the sports world of recent. Things that are acquired, meaning infections like myocarditis.
Why is he not answering?
Or things like we saw with Damar Hamlin with commotio cordis, where something happens to an otherwise normal heart.
You could at least say you know it wasn't a jab because it was something else.
These acquired heart diseases can then be further divided into a structurally abnormal heart or a structurally normal heart. A structurally normal heart means there was nothing wrong with the vessels. There was nothing in terms of coronary artery disease or plaque buildup. The heart, electrical activity, and structural function was completely normal, but then something happened.
Was commotio cordis like all the news sites said? Come on.
This is the category where we would put commotio cordis, what happened with Damar Hamlin, where something strikes the front of the chest. This impact happens at just the right time point in the cardiac cycle, or the EKG, which causes your heart to go into an oftentimes fatal arrhythmia.
That's something I want to stay away from.
So proud, happy, and pleased to welcome to the stage from the Buffalo Bills, number 3.
Merchandising. Sudden cardiac arrest was nothing I would have ever chosen to be a part of my story. But God's plan was to have a purpose greater than any game in this world.
But the devil's plan included this man.
Travis, did you know you can get this season's COVID-19 shot when you get your flu shot?
Two things at once. Two things at once. Two things at once. I'll have two things at once, please.
It's pretty much that simple. You want to get to know your teammates, ask them questions.
Go sit down at a new table at lunch.
Ask them no dumb questions. Ask them some hypotheticals. Ask them some conspiracies.
That'll get a table going, man.
Get to the good ones.
Start asking about some flat earths.
Get some flat earth, some alien questions from Papa Kelsey.
Woo!
Yeah.
I feel like the flat earth comes up every training camp.
I was on a practice field last year. One of our coaches was walking by and I was like, man, how many people do you think on this field believe the earth is flat? He's like, I don't think there's nobody out here that believes that. Somebody right next to me said, I mean, how you know it isn't? You'd be surprised if you start polling.
Somebody 10 feet away heard flat earthers like, oh, they talk about it.
Where's your proof?
How do you know?
Why is the entire world bought into a global conspiracy?
And you're like, oh, this must be legit. Like I've been trying to say.
You are being directed.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
Some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias.
To push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
You should be bringing up Fauci, and you should be bringing up Bill Gates, and you should be bringing up Hotez and all these other criminals who are telling people to continue to go out to experimentally inject themselves with a fucking sauce while all of these 18-year-olds are keeling over. You're now seeing it in Hollywood. You're seeing it in singers. You're seeing it in concerts. You're seeing it on basketball courts. You're seeing it on football fields at the NFL level. You're now watching
My goodness, look at all the
Bodies. This is what they wanted, dropping bodies. Every time I turn the TV on, they dropping bodies. Chicago ain't got nothing on these bodies. They dropping left and right. We try to tell you about these bodies. Hey, we try to tell you about these bodies, but you didn't want to listen about these bodies. And now you might be dropping like a body. Bodies. This is what they wanted. Take a look at all the bodies. I know they'll try to ban me after this song. Y'all reminded me of Rocket Man. Call y'all Kim Jong with all the propaganda. Take a story, get your twist on. The people saying it's safe and effective, man, y'all been wrong. What's the body count? Buckle up, gon' be a rocky mount. While people dropping, y'all just talking in the coffee lounge. I see people mocking, tell it's you up on that soggy ground. Man, look who talking, man, you rocking with the Nazis now? First they take the guns, then make you comply with the mandates. You gon' rip it from my dead hands, ain't no band-aid. Ain't dying from your juice, I didn't take it. Ain't in a trans state, you can't have this body. Pure blood, that's my campaign. Bodies, bodies. This is what they wanted, dropping bodies. Every time I turn the TV on, they dropping bodies. Chicago ain't got nothing on these bodies. They dropping left and right. We try to tell you about these bodies. Hey, we try to tell you about these bodies, but you didn't want to listen about these bodies. And now you might be dropping like a body, cause this is what they wanted. Take a look at all the bodies. 1, 2, 3, 4 bodies dropping on the floor. I say we assemble, take up arms, declare another war. Donald Trump is compromised, man, forget the other four. I don't follow, man, no more. Now sit back and watch me roar. All of a sudden, bodies dropping by the dozen. Now you buzzing, let me guess, now you gon' blame it on the Russians. See your cousin drop, she was healthy, she didn't have the muffin top. They got you to take the poke, you only had a sudden cough. Crazy, they dumb me down when they come around, and now you pushing up daisies. Put the guard down for a card, you let them poke you with the gravy. And now you watching sports, and bodies dropping all over the court. Bodies, bodies. This is what they wanted, dropping bodies. Every time I turn the TV on, they dropping bodies. Chicago ain't got nothing on these bodies. They dropping left and right. We try to tell you about these bodies. Hey, we try to tell you about these bodies, but you didn't want to listen about these bodies. And now you might be dropping like a body, cause this is what they wanted. Take a look at all the bodies.
U.S. life insurance companies have reported an overwhelming and unexplainable increase in all-cause deaths among 18 to 49-year-olds. Along with that, there's also been an increase in certain medical diagnoses, such as miscarriages and Bell's palsy. Here to give us her take on the new data and what she believes could be causing the rise in numbers is emergency medicine and disaster specialist Dr. Kelly Victory. Dr. Victory, good morning. Great to talk to you as always.
Good morning, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we want to make sure that anytime we talk, we want to make sure the information that we have is accurate. So let's start this interview by telling us, I've seen your correspondence here, what is the source of the information that you're about to present?
Well, this information became available to me or on my radar last week following a hearing with Senator Ron Johnson, who was looking at sort of what he calls a second opinion on the entire response to the COVID pandemic. The medical data was released by 3 career military physicians who got the information from the military database that collects what we call ICD codes, which are the diagnosis codes. And these physicians had a feeling, they believed based on their own observation, that they were seeing a significant uptick in certain conditions. So they actually went back and culled the database from the military on certain conditions over a 5-year period from 2016 through 2020, notably containing 1 year, 2020, of the full-blown pandemic. So they looked at 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20 at the prevalence of certain conditions, including things like heart attack, blood clots to the lung, miscarriages, those sorts of things. And they compared it to the incidence of those same things in the calendar year 2021 and saw an alarming increase in certain things. For example, they saw a 270% increase in myocardial infarction in 2021, a 300% increase in incidence of Bell's palsy and of certain neurologic complaints, a 470% increase in pulmonary embolisms, blood clots to the lung, and many, many other increases that they found alarming. No one is saying with any certainty, Jason, what is causing this.
You keep this flame, I have a light in me. And with this cat, it's curiosity that keeps me hanging all night and day. Surprisingly, again I hear you say, guess what? Guess what? Curiosity killed the cat. I'm telling you, I know where it's at.
But we certainly would be remiss as scientists if we didn't look at that and say, there is something going on. What happened in 2021 that was so different from the previous 5-year average that would cause this massive increase in certain medical conditions?
So the source of the information is several U.S. life insurance companies that have been reporting this, correct? And these 3 career physicians that you referred to.
Well, yes, they are separate groups of data. Jason, the previous study from the U.S. life insurance companies, many of them were reporting a 40% increase in deaths from all causes in the 18 to 49-year-old group. They know that because these are life insurance companies that provide group life insurance policies to employers. So these are working age individuals with a 40% increase in all-cause deaths. That was a different report from this bombshell that came out last week from, as I said, 3 career military physicians who are culling a military database. So they are 2 groups of data that show, again, an alarm that something is going on. And the question is what? What has changed in calendar year 2021 that is causing, number one, an increase in all-cause deaths, as reported by the life insurance companies, and an increase in certain medical conditions, such as heart attacks, blood clots to the lungs, congenital malformations of children born that year.
I'm Humpty Dumpty, king of wealth. This wall of gold is my throne. I'll build it high till it reaches the sky. This gold is all my own. The more I have, the more I want. I love the glistening star. There's power untold in these pieces of gold. I never had enough.
And we come to the moral of the story. Even with all the king's men, they couldn't put the narrative of COVID back together again. Until next time,